All right. So, welcome back to another episode of Sober Yoga Girl. I am super excited for this podcast guest. I have Dan with me today, Dan the Psychic, as I often refer to him. And Dan is in Toronto right now. I met him when he was in Dubai, and he's also sometimes in between India. So, he's a worldly man. Welcome, Dan. How are you?
I'm good. I guess you can call me a psychic gypsy because I keep on traveling all over the place.
I love
And
it.
I'm trying to help as many people as I can.
Love
But
it.
thank you. Thank you for calling me on your platform.
I'm super happy to have you here. And I think many of my listeners, many of my community members have probably heard your name a lot. I know I'm constantly giving out your number to my members of the Mindful Life practice. And I just want to kind of start off and give a little bit of context of kind of my story with Dan. Lots of people have probably heard bits and pieces of it. I was about maybe a month sober, feeling very low, very lost, really confused about what I was doing with my life, kind of waking up to this reality that I wasn't super fulfilled with what I was currently doing. And I had this amazing assistant teacher, and she actually kept saying to me, you should meet my psychic for like 3 years. And I was just like, okay, I don't believe in psychics. Finally, I was just so lost. I was like, should I be a counselor? Should I go to a different school? Should I move to a different country? Should I do reading? And she said, you should meet my psychic. And finally I was like, okay, I have nothing to lose. So I drove from Abu Dhabi to Dubai to meet Dan. Dan had no context on me at this point. I didn't have a public social media platform at all. So I don't think there's any way he could have found me. And went into the session. He said, close your eyes, count back from 21 to 1, open them up. And I just remember him saying, you were never meant to be a teacher. You were meant to be a healer. And I just remember this hour of my life was so emotional because Dan was telling me all of these things that I dreamed of. I just didn't think they were possible. And he was putting my dreams into a future that was actually going to happen. And it was this transformative moment, of moments in my life. This was a moment where I completely shifted. And I started to do all of these things working towards my future. And, here I am now. That was April, I think that was May of 2019. It's July of 2021, and I'm now full-time running this business that Dan told me I was going to run 2 years ago. So it's pretty amazing. And, whenever I have members or community members that are a bit lost, I'm always like, go talk to Dan. So this is kind of my story and my journey. And I still work with Dan a lot, calling him, texting him a lot, asking him for insights. And I think he's one of the most empowering and such a amazing person to know. So that's kind of my story with Dan.
Thank you. That's very humbling, Alex. But I think the thing is you had the conviction to live your life's purpose, and you understood that you needed the guidance when you needed it. It wasn't an entertainment thing. It was something that you were really seeking. And I think the point of you coming towards my light or towards me and where I was in Dubai, and also traveling for an hour or 10 minutes from where you were, just to seek out the stranger guy that you have no face to, have no background to, but you took that leap of faith and said, hey, I need to fix something within myself, but maybe this is the way. And when you sat with me and we had that hour conversation, I think that your truth of who you are came out. And because you were not clouded by any substance or thoughts or any blockages, that you got all the information that you needed, and that right now you're living your path, your light. You're living on this journey. You're living on your yellow brick road right now. And you're living in this utopia that you're creating for yourself. You're truly becoming who you are meant to be and not who you thought you should be. And I think that right now, with everything that's going on in the world, and you sprouting such a beautiful, lovely community for yourself, it's amazing. I mean, it's so empowering and so impactful. And I think that your journey not only inspires, but evokes certain feelings in a lot of people. And I think that the more you speak about your journey, and that's not necessarily only because of what we've gone through together. That's your journey from the get-go, through the trauma, through everything that you had to go through to get to you where you are right now, in your now, not in somebody else's now. You're in your now. You're living in your true self. And that's amazing. And it's brilliant and beautiful the way that you made it happen. And I think I was the guide to help you. And I'm honored to help you. And that's the fulfilling part of what I do, is to see my collective consciousness, the people that I work with, get inspired and live life so beautifully. And I think that you're right now in this zone of transformation. And I think this transformation is quite scary also for you, because you're also like scared of the unknown. But as we looking at what's going to happen right now at this moment, then you don't really worry about what's going to happen in the future. We look at right now and say, hey, this is my calm, this is my kindness, this is my love, this is me.
I love that. That's so helpful. It's like you can sense the nerves I'm going through right now.
Yeah. But I think that you're definitely in something that's really special for you, and you are constructing it the way that you need to construct it for yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We're all destined for something. We all have a destiny. We all have a life purpose. We all have a life path. But for you to find it and be happy with it. And yes, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be so simple. There's obviously going to be ups and downs. But the thing is to take the leap of faith to do what you want to do that makes you feel good and gives joy and love and happiness in your heart. It's just beautiful to live in that right now.
It is. Yeah. Thank you. And, you touched on something there a moment ago when you talked about having the conviction to follow your path. And I think that is something that really got clear to me, because I remember, coming to see you maybe 6 months or a year after our first session. And I had said, like, nothing is happening. And you said, well, you didn't do anything. And I got so mad at you. And I remember like leaving me like, oh, this was a big waste of money. This guy's like setting me on this wrong path. And I've learned a lot about, like we can all have this desire to change and we can all have these dreams, but no one is going to make them happen for you by yourself. Right. And so we have to have this belief in our own potential and this kind of like drive to propel ourselves forward to whatever that purpose is.
Correct. Also recognizing what you need at that moment, even though if we go back to when you left my place the second time or the third time when you came and you said, okay, whatever he's saying is not working for me and this is not the place and this is not what I need and blah, blah, blah. And I know that was really hard for you to leave that time. And I know you went with dissatisfaction, but everything that I told you also in that session has happened. It's just that you had to take the first step. Yeah. You didn't take the first step. Nobody's going to ring your doorbell and say, hey, Alex, here's your life. Live it. You've got to make it happen. And the point of that conversation with you and I was about you being proactive and working and doing it, not thinking, not trying, not hoping, just doing. And I don't think till that point you understood that. And then with things unfolding from your personal life and then professional life, and you're seeing the milestones happen, even though there were small milestones, but things were working out in such a beautiful way for you, even coming up with the name of your practices, coming up with the ideology, how it was going to work out and stuff like that. Basically, whatever we spoke about maybe about 2 years ago has actually come to fruition right now. And you're actually doing everything and beyond that. And you've become this, this powerhouse for yourself. But saying that, you also have to look at the journey and say, hey, what were my learnings through that journey that I just took? And that I should always kind of implement those type of teachings in my daily life and be consistent with that also. It's just like when I do yoga, that I need to be consistent with my yoga. I can't just do it once a week and then maybe 3 months stop and come back to it and say, okay, I'm back to my yoga. We have to be consistent on things. And yoga is this beautiful creature that brings stillness and calmness and aligns our chakras and aligns our aura and creates this great energy and positivity for ourselves. And depending on the type of yoga you're doing will help certain areas in your life too. But I think that for you right now, that it's a period in your life or in a lot of people's lives that probably are going to be listening to this, that there's a lot of transformational energy right now all the way till October, and things are gonna just change. But the thing is, you've got to jump on this boat ride or on this train or on this plane to make the things happen. Just sitting there and waiting for it to happen won't happen. And some people will say, hey, but there's a concept of surrendering. Surrendering is not about action. Surrendering is about keeping your mind still. Surrendering is keeping your heart still, opening it up, allowing things to happen. Surrender so that the universe or your God or Mother Nature or whatever it is that you believe in will help you in that process. Does that make sense? I know we're jumping all over the place, but I just thought that, it'd be better for me to just allow us to get some clarity about things right now, also about the future, what's happening right now.
Yeah, absolutely. That is super helpful. And it's exciting to know that it's like an energy of transformation coming up.
Yeah, you'll hear about it. Like if you're in astrology, somebody's into astrology or numerology or any of these kind of things, these mediums, or even tarot card reading, whatever it is, you'll understand that there's a big shift that's happening, and it's a global shift. It's a global shift of consciousness, a global shift of energy, a global shift of transformation for yourself, that as everything else is transforming, I also transform with that. Now, do I transform in a positive way or a negative way? That's up to me. But I need to make sure that however this transformational shift that's happening in these next few months, that I'm on some sort of, I don't want to say positive journey, but I'll call it maybe a mindful journey or a kindness journey. Actually, I mean, the best way to look at it right now, this transformational time, is you need to be kind to yourself, and you need to understand how to be kind to yourself and what you need to do to be kind to yourself. That will be the biggest transformation you take.
Love it. Ahimsa, like practice of self-love and nonviolence.
Yeah. Correct.
So let's get into, I know whenever I talk to you, it's like always about me. And I would love to, it has to be exactly, I would really love to hear your story. So it would be cool if you could kind of just give me a little bit of context about like your life growing up, kind of where you're from and your little background story.
Well, I'm basically from Toronto. I'm born and brought up in Toronto by two immigrant parents. My father he's not alive anymore. So he was from India. He is from India. And my mom was from a place called Guyana in South America. And they met in Toronto and fell in love. So I was a love baby. I was the reason why they had to get married. And it was, I would say my childhood was a journey because my parents were probably working 3 jobs each. And they were immigrants, so they were really trying to make it big for themselves. And I think that I was also part of that hard journey that they went through. So I had to also put a lot of my emotional needs and wants aside. And as I was growing up and as siblings arrived, I had 2 younger siblings. I had to be the caregiver. I had to be the parent also. I also had to be the nanny, the cook, everything. So that's a journey that I took. So I didn't really have a childhood while I was growing up. But my psychic abilities started showing themselves to me around the age of, I guess it was, I think I was 16, if I'm not mistaken. And what happened is I was in the shower and I started getting an overwhelming feeling of loss. Like I have lost something. Then I started seeing flashes of people that I knew how they were going to go. And I started in the shower with the shower blasting on me, I felt my tears. And I was like, am I crying or is it the shower? I turned off the shower. I'm crying. And I was grieving everything that I just felt. I ended up getting out of the shower and I got ready. And my father was like, hey, we're going to go see your grandfather. He's in town from India. And me and mom are going to go. And I said, sure. Okay, but I'm going to stay home. And he said, okay. And then I didn't end up going to my room. I ended going to my brother's room and sitting there. And I sat there in solace, like in this whole grieving state, and just sat there. And I think in 2 hours' time, my dad called and he said my grandfather passed.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was the first thing. So at 16, it's very devastating to get this kind of information to yourself. But as I grew older, I didn't really understand it and I pushed it aside. And I ended up going into a little hospitality. I ended up working for my father's company. I excelled at that. Then I ended up going to film school eventually. Then I ended up in India. And while I was in India, my spiritual journey awakened again by reading a very interesting book called An Autobiography of a Yogi. And I was staying with a family friend, and I remember the family friend had a son. So I was trying to hang out with the son. And I think he thought I was pestering him. So he kind of gave me this book and said, read this book. And I read it, but I read it as a book. I didn't take it as, okay, he's trying to just push me aside or anything like that. Mind you, this person's like one of my closest friends right now. He's like a brother in my life. So I started reading that. So that was my spiritual journey. But my psychic journey started developing even more when my best friend came into my life. And I started getting flashes about what was happening in his life. And I would just tell him things and he would be like, how do you know this? Like, how do you know I'm sitting in a business room with this person, with this letter, and we're doing a deal right now? You don't even know where I am. So I started giving my 2 cents there. Then the next time that I got in something that was evoked as psychicness was that we went to a tarot card reader. Me and my 2 besties went to a tarot card reader. So my best friend, my other best friend, she wanted a session. So she was doing the session. And during the session, I sat away from the table, and the lady looked at me and she goes, you just got some information. And she said, why don't you just say what's in your head right now? So I said it. And then my friend said, how do you know that? I was like, I don't know. She goes, only my mom knows that, and my mom's not alive. So that was the other incident. So after that incident, a lot of things started happening. My dad got really sick also. He also passed. And after he passed, I went through a little traumatic period of my life and I started healing myself. But while I was doing the healing for myself, I also started developing my own practice. And I started doing sessions for people. And I would tell them things like, are you going to get a car? Are you going to date somebody? Are you going to buy a house? Are you going to move? Like really not very in-depth and personal kind of information. I mean, people still ask me that and I still answer it. There's no problem with that. But I also make it a little bit more deeper. And I try to help them find solutions to change the way they are and get to a place where they can feel better. So that was, now if I look back now, it's 16 years of me helping people doing my practice. And in my practice, it's a solution-based practice. I try to help you and guide you to find your potential. And I do give you nuggets or breadcrumbs of predictions of the future, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is to find out how to unlock your potential and what you need to do to unlock that potential. And then how to get to those little breadcrumbs that I've put on the road for you. And the other thing that I do is a healing practice that I've also developed myself, where I kind of do it's where I cleanse a person and I kind of align them. And all they're doing is it's a 45-minute nap for them. It is. And they come out of it feeling a little less heavy, and sometimes they do feel heavy because a lot of things are coming to the surface.
Right.
You know, when you're going through a healing practice or you're trying to get healed, a lot of things come to the surface. You know, a lot of people may also feel when they're doing things like yoga that a lot of emotions do come up to the surface. And when the emotions come up to the surface, now how do we deal with that? So this has been my journey so far. And I've been around the globe. I've been to London, Beirut, the States, Canada, all over the place, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, you name it. I've got clients all over the place, and I may not physically go there. I think there's only a few of those that I've physically gone to, but most of it's been virtual. And I think there's more than a handful of people around the world that I'm helping and healing. I also send out energy. I send out light. I send out healing. I send out love. I send out all these little things, and I do it genuinely. I think that also within my practice that I think a lot of people are a little jaded just because they've gone to people who claim to have certain abilities, and they feel like maybe they are just looking online and just researching them and then giving them the same information. But I can tell you that I don't really care about that information. And I don't even do that. I don't have the time or the bandwidth to do that. I really don't. Mm-hmm. I do multiple things. Not only am I a psychic or a holistic healer, I'm also a creative head of music for a Bollywood company. I do that. And I'm also a food curator where I help people opening up their restaurants, sit with the chef and actually help cook and make the menu with them to come up with great food ideas. So, I mean, my plate's really full right now. So I don't have and I'm not so technically inclined. I mean, it took me half an hour to figure out how to attach, what are these, earpods to my iPhone. I finally got it. And I've used them once before and it went automatically. This time it didn't happen that way. So I was like, okay, why is it not working? But, and it did frustrate me. It just made me laugh at myself because I was just like, you've become so vintage, and you still don't know how to do things. And it's okay. It's okay. It's technology. You don't need to know everything in technology. But that's my journey. And sorry to make it long-winded, but I mean, this is the short form of the journey. But it's been great. And I don't think I would ever change anything. And I also think that the trauma that I've gone through, even the trauma of my father's passing, has only made me into the person I am right now, and also heightened my intuition and my spiritual practice and my compassion, not only to others, but to myself also. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting philosophy. And I can tell you guys, I don't read any self-help. I don't read. I mean, I hardly read. I read biographies sometimes, but I don't read any real self-help books. I've never. I think the last self-help book, which everybody must have read along with me, was The Secret. And after reading The Secret, I was like, there has to be a better way. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you guys know what The Secret is, but it is a huge thing.
I haven't read it, but I've heard so much about it. Like so many people have mentioned it. So I probably need to read it just so I can understand the reference.
Yeah, but it's something that it's interesting. It gives you some of the tools, but it doesn't unlock everything. It kind of gives you like one little piece of it, and then you wonder why isn't it working as consistently as it could. So, but there's lots of tools. There's lots of people out there who are empowered speakers, and more power to them. And if you want to go down that route, great, go down that route. It would probably work for a lot of people. And also if you wanted to see, I believe in, just like I've told you to be a healer and stuff, there's so many people that have come to me that I've also told them to become a tarot card reader or work on their psychic abilities and stuff like that, because I feel the world needs a lot of us light workers, and there's not enough of us, and we need to help each other because there's a minute amount of us and there's so many people that need help. And the more people that are out there that are paying it forward and helping others, I mean, it's the best thing. And I love teaching people how to become that person. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to see somebody else who also has clients and their lives change and they feel so good about it. I just want everybody to feel good, you know. And it's not about negative or positive, being positive or being negative in life. It's more about being at a place where you feel that you've got what you needed to be in this moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry,
Absolutely.
it's so long. I'm so long-winded.
Honestly, thank you so much for sharing that. Like, it's a really inspiring story. And I think sometimes we meet people where they are currently at, and we don't know all of the obstacles and all of the things that they have overcome to get to this place, right? It wasn't like Dan just woke up and he was like, okay, this is
just a zen. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it was a journey of kind of figuring it out and going through different things. And
I honestly believe that we have people that are drawn into our lives, like my besties, my best friends that have come and they're very strong in my life, came into my life so I could also become the person that I want. And it was just they're not healers, or they're like everyone. They're just nice, kind people. And I was at the right moment at the right time, but it was them that were probably my, inciting incident that happened that charged me or sparked me to make a bigger move forward.
yeah,
And I wouldn't change anything, and I wouldn't do anything to change what had happened. And even if I could go back and get my father back, a lot of people right now have to deal with this losing loved ones just because of COVID and other things. That if I could go back and change and have him back with me physically, I would do that. But sitting here right now, I would say, okay, fine. He had to do he had to go the way he had to go in order to evoke a different way of me looking at life. And he was a very learned man, street smarts, not book smarts, but street smarts. And he really evoked a lot of my philosophies in me. But he wasn't a spiritual person. He was religious, but he wasn't spiritual. But it's his words that ring in me every day. And his essence is around me every day. And I feel him every day. So he's not gone. He's still here.
That's so beautiful. And I think that can probably touch so many people who, are also going through grief or loss to like visualize the spirit still around you and with you and kind of guiding you on your way.
Yeah. We always have to look at things, the loss of a loved one, be it human, be it a pet, be it a plant, be it whatever it is, a loss is a loss. And if we look at the loss and only focus on the loss and don't look at what their life brought into our life, then we're kind of doing an injustice. So I honor my father by looking at what he did in his life and the beauty of his life. And I don't only look at the part where he died. It was an important part of his journey, but death is not something that we should be scared of. We should just say it's a new way of looking at different things. With death, there's also life. It's a different life. We just put a big word to it, calling it death. If I called it bubble gum, we probably would have felt better about it. But the word death has such a heavy connotation to it. It has this heaviness to it. And it makes us, because we've been programmed since we were young to believe in certain ideologies and ways of feeling associated to certain words. I think everybody should watch this movie by Pixar. I think it was Inside Out, that talks about all the emotions. I love
that movie.
And how they have to be together, be it anger, be it everything. We all have to be together. It's one of the best movies I've seen. And it's so adult for a children's movie, but it's beautiful. And the other one was Soul, that just released. I think that was such a great way of looking at how, a soul decides on what type of life it wants to live. And it's beautiful that it's a great theory of it. There could be many theories, but I found that theory very beautiful. And it evokes the youthfulness within me when I watch a Pixar film.
So
Maybe they should come and sponsor you now.
I was going to ask you, is Soul also a children's movie? Is that a new Pixar?
Yeah, it's a movie called Soul. I think it's Pixar. It's DreamWorks. It's one of them. You guys should definitely take a look at it. I mean, if you liked Inside Out, you're gonna love
Loved
Soul.
it. I loved Inside Out.
Yeah.
That was another one where I was just like teary in the movie theater.
But the greatness of these films are they help you also learn something.
Yeah.
I mean, when we're watching things or when we're consuming stuff, be it on the internet or TV or books, what are we consuming from that, and how is that impacting us? It doesn't always have to impact us in a positive. I watch Friends, I watch everything, but I watch these things, and there's always a learning within each thing I watch, even if it's a horror film. And I try to make sense of it because there's a reason why I'm watching it at the time I'm watching it. Everything has a reason. Not that I'm analyzing it 24/7 and sitting there and saying, oh, well, this happened because of this, this happened because of this, and this happened because of this. But a lot of things that we watch also has a lot of interesting lessons for us. And I just think these two animated films had so much information, and it's just beautifully done. And it tells you a story in a way that makes you feel a little bit better. The thing is, now you watch it and you don't implement it in your life, that's the issue. We got to implement it and start saying, hey, when I get down and I'm upset, suppose, I've been dying and waiting for that person to call me and they didn't call me or email me. I don't sit there and wallow. I say, okay, it's okay for me to feel a lack of response or validation from this person, but then how do I fulfill that validation without being a hindrance or being a bug, and kind of evoke those emotions for myself and be self-sufficient within those periods where we don't get it from anywhere else, be it love, be it kindness, be it whatever it is. But we end up evoking these emotions on our own so we can fulfill ourselves again. It's all about fulfillment.
Well, that kind of leads me into sort of my next questions for you. I was wondering, how do we help, or how do you help empower individuals to kind of go on these journeys? How do you help them sort of, create this beautiful life? I don't know what question I'm asking, but.
Well, I think the way that I help people do it is I give them proactive solutions. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is I listen and I'm brutally honest. I think I just had a session with somebody who's a client that's been there for years. And she goes, you're so brutal. But she said, that's what I need to hear, because if you sugarcoat it, it's not going to help me. I got to hear it the way it needs to be told. And I spoke about something that was very dear to us, speaking about her kid. And I had to tell her the way I had to tell her. And she's like, and she laughed because she's like, only you could speak to me this way and I'll be okay with it. Otherwise I'd be upset about it and I'll be angry. But the way you just say it makes it so real and makes me understand in one go. And I said, okay, that's great. So I give people solutions in many forms. It depends on the person and the individual. I don't think there's a cookie cutter way of helping a person. Each person, I have to help them and tailor make their regime or the way they should do things. And I use very simplistic things to do, things that will not be out of the ordinary. You'll do a set and you'll be, oh, well, that's all I have to do. And I'll be like, yeah, that's all you have to do. It's more about the in-depth work when we come to changing our patterns and the way we change our patterns and we change our perspective. That takes a little bit more time because we have imprinted a way of doing things within ourselves. And it's hard to erase that or move that or change that. And I don't think we ever have to erase or we have to change. Like if we've gone through trauma in the past, I've gone through that trauma in the past. I can't change it. I can't erase it. I can't go in hypnotherapy and erase it out and feel better about it. No, why will I feel better about it? It was trauma. Let me understand the trauma. Let me understand why the trauma happened. And let's move on from it and move on from it, not forgetting about it. That understanding it's a scar. Let me wear the scar and let me honor my scar, but not honor the thing that created the trauma. Honor the strength that it took me to get out of the trauma. Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I love creating silences with you.
I'm just like, I'm letting it sink in. Someone said, I can't remember who it was. I had a podcast guest. I'm like, maybe it was you. Someone said, turn your trauma into a triumph. Was that you? I think it was you.
Yeah. And I also told you that let's not try to survive. Let's try to thrive.
Oh, you told me that? Did you know that that's part of my sober curious yoga school?
No, I have not taken notice of that, but I think you need to understand that thriving is the way to look at things and not surviving. Because if we're just looking at surviving, then we're not going to live a very happy life. We gotta thrive in what we're doing.
Yeah.
In everything that we do.
I have something called the Survive to Thrive model.
Oh, wow.
I hope you don't mind. It sounds like you gave me that idea.
No. It's good. I have you've known me for like we're part of the same family, but you know that I would never say anything. You take it, use it, run with it, no problem. I'm not here going to say, oh well, that's copyrighted or anything like that. Take it, Alex, and use it for yourself. I'm more than happy for you to, create a bigger version of it. I only gave you 2 words. You've taken it and it's become something even bigger now. That's you. That's not me. I'm just telling you that my ideology or my way of looking at things has changed in life, and that I don't look at, this survival of the fittest. I'm like, what survival of the fittest? I need to thrive. I need to make sure that I look and feel and am happy with whatever I'm doing for myself. That's it. I don't think we had a topic for this conversation today, and we're talking about a lot of things, and there are little predictions involved. But I also feel that with us, with all of us, that we also have to start having that conversation with ourselves and start understanding the transparency we need for ourselves, and being transparent with ourselves and understanding that this is what it is and it's okay, be it good or bad, but this is what it is, and take it to black and white. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Be it in hurt, be it in pain, be it in love, be it in whatever, and I don't want this, there's this thing where we keep on analyzing and trying to fix ourselves, and we're always broken. We don't always have to fix ourselves. What I'm talking about is that we live life in a way that we understand what's happening around us, but we understand in that moment. We don't go back and analyze it and make a Excel sheet or a graph or a chart of putting pros and cons and all this stuff. That's not the way it's supposed to happen. It just has to happen organically and be a part of how you process information, and how you think about information, and how you are kind to yourself and give yourself that love and nurturing validation, all those things that you need to give for yourself, and not wait for somebody else. I don't wait for anybody else to give me that validation, because I automatically get validated. If I do a session with somebody, I feel blessed that I'm allowed to do that session with them. Yes, and I do get paid for it, obviously. But if you look at it, Alex has done a whole bunch of sessions with me. Outside of that session, I'm still with you. Yeah. I will still answer your messages. I'll still answer those questions. I will not charge you on those messages and questions you ask me afterwards. It's only when it's a whole bunch of questions, I'm like, listen, you got to do a session. But if it's a one-off thing, like Alex, being transparent to whoever listening to us, Alex had a question that she asked me earlier in the week, and it wasn't something that I could be texting her about back, though that's what I think she thought I was going to do. And I knew I was going to speak to her today. And before we started our session, I said, Alex, I just wanted to verbalize it and break it down for you so you understood it a little bit more easily. And after I did that, she's like, yeah, I kind of get this now. And actually, the way I was thinking about it, I didn't look at it from this angle. And it was just her changing her perspective. Now, what she does with the information I give to her, that's up to her.
Right.
But it's not like I told her yes or no. I just gave her my observation on the situation. And then Alex has to make the informed decision. The decision doesn't get done by me. I do not give anybody their decision. I only give them the guidance, and I give them the information they need to know to make that informed decision.
And that's what I love about you. And that's what I feel like is sometimes misunderstood of the idea of having a psychic. Like, I know my parents are not believers. They probably won't even listen to this episode.
That's okay.
But I think my mom's thoughts around it are that, like, you know, you're telling me sort of what to do. And that's definitely not the case, because you've told me things that I have blatantly ignored. Like, you should break up with that boyfriend. I'm like, no. And then a year later, I'm like, I really should have listened to him. And so it's like, you give me whatever, you give me the truth, and then I choose whether I take it or not. And sometimes I haven't, and sometimes I have, and sometimes it takes me a little while.
Well, I'm also the person that tries to make you feel accountable. I always bring that up. I always try to say, hey, you got to be accountable. But even if you don't do what I tell you to do, and then you come back to me and we speak and stuff, I never belittle you and say, oh, well, I told you. So I've never said those. I don't think I've ever said those words to anybody. And it's just the way that if you have to go the way you're going, you just go that way. And you need to, we need to fix a bump on the road, we'll fix a bump on the road, or the ditch in the road, we'll fix it. There's no problem with that. Everything is fixable. Everything has a solution, but we have to believe that there's a solution and it's fixable, correct? Even though Alex will date the same person who was not right for her, and she wanted to go through the flow because she was in that moment with the person, no problem, Alex, go for it. When you get out of it, I'll still be there. Even if you're still in it, I'll still be there. There's no judgment. There's no biases. There's nothing. It's just information, and you got to take it as guidance. I think recently there was somebody that was coming through you, and she messaged me and she said, she gave me her name. So I said, I need your full name. And she was reluctant to give it. So I said, okay, what's the reluctance? She said, you'll probably go on the net and Google me. And I said, I mean, who has the time? And the information I talk to you about is not Googleable. The information I tell you is not Googleable. It just isn't. And so I think that's a lack of knowledge of knowing what you're going to a healer for. And when I'm going to a healer, I just need to be transparent and just go with it and not go with any expectations or limitations with myself. That's for anybody going with any type of place that you're going to go and get information from. Don't come into a place of insecurity and protectiveness and blocking, because then you won't get the right information that you need. And then you'll feel like, okay, maybe that person wasn't that good for you, but it maybe isn't the person that's the problem. The problem is that you weren't transparent. And the only reason why I ask everybody for their full name, and sometimes when I'm doing a psychic session on any of these platforms and people ask me questions, I always ask them for their full name, because you can say your name is Sue. I know 25 Sues, but I need to kind of put you as a Sue with this name, full name. That's just how it works. And I even think Alex didn't say she was Alex. Alex probably gave me her full form of her name or something like that. I think Alex's name was abbreviated. Yeah, either you gave me that name or you gave me whatever name. So the thing is, it's probably not the name that you use anyways every day.
Yeah.
You know, I just want people to be transparent with each other and their emotions. And when they do speak to me, I usually tell them, I just need you to be, it's the second thing I tell you after counting backwards from 21 to 0. I say, I just need you to be transparent, and everything we talk about is confidential. Nobody knows about anything. Alex has sent a bunch of people, not even a handful, more than a handful of people over to do sessions. But Alex is not doing that because she feels like she needs to pay for it with Dan. Alex is doing it because she feels like they need the help and they need somebody to give them some sort of guidance. That's why Alex is doing it. And I appreciate Alex. 100% too.
100%. No, I have to say, at the beginning, I almost felt this kind of circles back to something you were saying earlier, is at the beginning when I would tell people my story of how I became a sober coach, I would say, oh, I went to see a life coach because I was like, I don't want these people to then go to my psychic instead of me. And I kind of had to have this lasted for a little, maybe like a few weeks. And then I realized, I wasn't being authentic with my journey. And the authentic truth is that it was you. And when I started telling the true story, it just touched and inspired so many people. And I'm not even giving people the advice of you should see my psychic. I'm just telling the story. And they're like, wow, I want to meet him because, here you are running your own business and you quit your job and, you have this big community. And I'm like, well, it all started with him. And yeah, it's amazing how many people you have inspired as well that I know, like they often come back to me and tell me what you've told them. And so I've heard a lot of like little bits and pieces of different people's sessions with you.
But that's inspiration that we're all doing, right? You've inspired them to go and seek help. And you're helping them also. So we're all kind of in the same chain, or we're kind of in the same consciousness, where we're all helping each other to develop and to grow and to give this sense of being part of like one tribe.
Yeah.
It's us just being humans and just feeling that we're connected to each other and that we could help each other. And the thing is, helping each other is one of the most beautiful things. If we can help even one person, maybe once a month, or once a year, it'd be great if you have that ability to help that person. And when I talk about helping people, it doesn't mean that they have the life-altering things. It could just be opening the door. It could just be smiling at somebody, just waving at them, asking them how they're doing, seeing somebody and saying, hey, I love what you're wearing. You rock it. Just being authentic to how you are.
Yeah. So
if you're a little more hip in your terminology, then do it in your hip way. If you're a little bit more bitchy, then do it in your bitchy way. It's okay, but be you. Don't be anybody else. Be the way that you want to do it, right? And there's something that always sticks in me, and I it's been years that I practice this, is when you see people, how do you greet them with the fullness in your heart? How do you greet them? And now, for the last, few years, because in Dubai I have 2 dogs. Actually, they're my best friend's dogs, but I claim them as mine too. But the way that I interact with them, and the way I am with them, when people see that, they're like, if you were like this with a lover or partner, you would never be single. And I was like, yeah, that's correct. But this is the love that they deserve. Yeah. And if I find somebody that deserves this love, or this type of love that I give them, then 100%. Like when I see my nephews, I'm always smiling and I greet them with happiness. That's not only because I'm doing it from a sense of, that I'm supposed to be nice and happy. I genuinely feel like a glow. I was supposed to leave Toronto actually on July 1st. And I extended my trip because of my nephews. And they all said, could you stay? And I said, okay, cool. And I'm staying for 2 months more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if there's a will, there's a way.
So I am super excited because Dan and I have had kind of back and forth mentioned about collaborating on events in the past, and it's never actually come into fruition. And so we're finally discussing doing something with the Mindful Life practice it's going to be an online event on Zoom. I'm super excited about it. It's going to be later this month, related to manifesting. So what can you tell me about the practice of manifestation, Dan?
Actually, the practice of manifestation is actually quite simple. And that when we're doing the event, I think I'll give a lot of people a lot of tools to see how they can manifest. And I think that maybe it's actually just to tweak our mindset and our perception and perspective on things. So when we do this event, I think a lot of people will be very interested in to see how that's going to work. And I'll give my 2 cents then too. And obviously, everybody might have questions, so we'll probably answer a couple questions on that event also. But stay tuned to figure out when and where.
Awesome. And it's going to line up perfectly with, I'm doing an 8-week yoga manifestation class that's happening. Wow. Yeah, on the Mindful Life practice. So that lines up. It's on Sundays and it's actually a fully booked class. So we're hoping to pair the two together so we can do a yoga manifestation practice and then a session with Dan after. So I think it'll fit perfectly with the theme of what we're doing there.
Well, it was great speaking to you today, Alex. I'm sending you lots of love and light.
Thank you, Dan. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. It was really amazing. I really appreciate giving your time. And I'm super excited to do this event with you later on. Well, this is the first of many. Let's keep it at that.
Yes. Yeah? All right. Yeah. God bless.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye.